Hey friends, welcome to Lacey Bell Lane. This is the space I'm creating here for us to make, learn, and grow together. And I am so glad to be back podcasting. It feels like it's been forever and no time at all. The last actual full podcast I recorded was around Thanksgiving here in the US. And then I did most of Vlogmas, so I was able to record a lot of what I was up to throughout the month of December, which included a lot of crafting. So if you followed that, you've seen a lot of what I was able to get done between Thanksgiving and now. I'm recording this on January 20-something. I don't know what day it is, but it's mid to late January, and I am going to do my absolute best to recap everything that I have done knitting-wise since the last podcast. I know a couple podcasts ago I shared about a lot of different kinds of crafts, including like quilting, embroidery, garment sewing, spinning, and today I'm mostly going to focus on knitting because knitting has been pretty all-consuming over the past couple months. Yeah. So bit of housekeeping first though is that the 100 subscriber giveaway, I'm going to extend the deadline to enter that until January 31st because I have been gone from the channel for so long. So if you have not yet and would like to enter, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and then go comment on the last video posted before this one. The title is 100 subscriber giveaway, and I'll do my best to link it here as well. But just go comment there and let me know what you're looking forward to from Lacey Bell Lane this year. And January 31st, or I guess February 1st, I will draw a winner, and the winner will have their choice of a custom hand knit hat or mitts. Nothing too crazy, but specifically bespoke for you. All right, so should we get into it? My first finished object today, you'll see I'm wearing, is the Nidia cardigan. This is by Vanessa Smith Designs, and it's not out yet. So this was the test knit that I've been working on that started at the beginning of November. I've been working on it off and on since then. It is a cropped length cardigan with full length sleeves in this texture lace pattern. See if I can get the camera to focus on it. And it's got this lateral braid cuff detail. I'm not sure how well the color will capture because I've had a lot of trouble photographing this color actually. But the yarn that I used is Juniper Moon Farm Stargazer in the colorway Phoenix. I think based on the pattern, I should have needed basically 5 or more skeins of yarn, and I only ended up using 4. So I have a lot of yarn left over, which you guys know how obsessed I am with this yarn. So I might even have enough for a second sweater or another shawl, which is really exciting. I took some photos yesterday with my mom of the cardigan to show off all of the details and share for when the pattern is released. So I will probably make a separate video sharing those photos with you and talking a little bit more about this cardigan closer to the release, which should be sometime around the end of January, beginning of February, but that just depends on the last few finishing details for the designer to get the pattern out. I'm really happy with the cardigan overall. I think she is an incredible pattern writer and very receptive to the feedback of her testers, which was really cool. It was cool to feel like we all had input on the direction that things went. I don't know that this would be like a first sweater pattern, but if you've knit a sweater before, I think it would be pretty manageable, and she really gives you a lot of tips and tools to use throughout the process to make it as accessible and readable as possible. So I think that that's really cool. The yarn I forgot to mention is 70% llama, 30% silk. So it's very soft, very warm, and it does have like the tiniest bit of a prickle, but I'm wearing it against my bare arms right now. I just have a t-shirt underneath. So it's not like so uncomfortable that I can't wear it next to skin, but I do notice just like a little bit of prickle, which I think is mostly just like guard hairs from the llama that maybe didn't get completely out. And I'm hoping those will kind of just work themselves out as I'm wearing the sweater. I'm really curious to see how this yarn wears as a garment yarn, because I'm not really sure if that's like what it was intended for. So far, I don't notice any like pilling or issues with the texture of it. So I'm hopeful that this will be a very durable, long-lasting sweater, because I really love the color, the yarn. I think it's a good yarn for the pattern and good pattern for my wardrobe. So I'm excited to have it. I also used these buttons from Button Bin Etsy, and these are olive wood buttons, which I don't know if you know, but I love olive trees. I don't particularly love olives on their own, but the symbolism of olive trees is really special to me, and it's actually the tree that's in my logo. So fun fact for you there, I got to include a little bit of olive with me in this sweater. Okay, so that is the only finished object that I physically have here to show you. Everything else that I have finished since the last podcast is gone. It's a commission that was delivered, it's a gift that was given, and all I have to show you now are pictures, or if I can find clips from Vlogmas, but you may just have to go back and look for those yourself if you're curious, because it's a lot of footage to weed through. So after the last podcast, I finished the collection of commissioned socks that I was making. I will include some pictures here of what those look like, and I was pretty proud to lay them all out side by side and see all of the work that I had put in. As far as I can tell, they were received really well by the people that they were gifted to, and ended up being the right fit size-wise for each person, which I was a little worried about because I was just going off of like women's large, men's large when choosing the sizes. So all of the designs for these socks will be linked below. Most of the pairs were knit in Berroco Vintage DK, and then one pair was knit in Cascade Heritage Sock, and another one was knit in a now discontinued yarn from Hobby. Once I got those done, I worked on finishing up the last pair of stockings, which also included a pair of miniature gerbil size stockings. I got them done. I got them shipped in time for Christmas, and unfortunately, if you watch Vlogmas, you know that there was a typo with the zip code that we didn't catch, and so the socks ended up going all the way to the town next to where they were supposed to be in North Carolina, and then came all the way back to me here in Oklahoma. And I was pretty devastated at the time, because y'all know I was working really hard to get all of these commissions done, but I ended up being able to get them shipped back out again. They got to where they were supposed to be, and the recipient was very gracious about the error. I then took an order, guys, for one more Christmas stocking. So there's a family that I made stockings for last year. They had a new baby this fall, and I sort of had wondered actually back then, like, hey, I wonder if they're going to want another stocking. But I didn't want to assume, and I also had so much other stuff on my plate that I wasn't like looking for more things to do at the time. And so they ended up reaching out sometime after Thanksgiving and saying like, hey, we'd love to order another stocking for our new family member. And I was like, of course I want to do what I can to get this stocking there for baby's first Christmas. So I did. I knit one more stocking. I then decided to knit a couple of gifts for Christmas. So we draw names on my husband's side of the family, and I knit this stuffed unicorn toy for my sister-in-law. She's a big fan of unicorns, and actually I'll show you later a commission that she has hired me to do, and it's taken me a long time to get any kind of momentum on this commission just because of the size and some issues I ran into with the design. So I knit her a like unicorn that will coordinate with the commission for her to have for Christmas, which I think went over really well. I also made a pair of lambing mitts by Tolt yarn. I made those in Paton's worsted in the dark gray color, and those were also given away as a gift. And if you're entering in the giveaway, these are the mitts that I plan to make. Your choice of color, but we can talk. I also decided to make a gift for my social work license supervisor. She's had a really rough year or couple years in terms of her health, her husband's health, all sorts of things. And I really just wanted her to have something that was bright and fun and cozy. And I wanted to use up some of the leftovers from the commission socks. So I made her these sort of sock slippers, which was initially inspired by the bright magenta color because I really thought that that was a good color for her. And then I kind of pulled together the rest of the like quirky rainbow. And I held, all the yarns for that are Berroco Vintage DK, and I held a charcoal gray with each color all the way through the socks to help give them some continuity. On the bottom, because I really didn't want them to be slippery, especially because of her health stuff, I didn't want to put her at risk of falling, I sewed on these suede slipper bottoms by Fiber Trends. I got these off of Etsy. I did use the size large, exactly like this, for the socks, and so you can see you just sew them on the bottom. It does come with some yarn that you can use to sew them on, but I felt like it was too dark, and I happen to have a sock yarn, which is what's recommended, in the same color as the suede, so I used that instead. They also recommend using a whip stitch or blanket stitch, and I used back stitch because I liked the idea of the stitching just going around where the holes are punched in the suede rather than across that space between the hole and the edge of the suede patch, if that makes any sense. You'll see in the pictures, I think, what I'm talking about, and so the stitch I used for that was back stitch. I finished a lot between Thanksgiving and Christmas-ish, and I have a couple of works in progress that are so close to finished objects, it's annoying, but I will share those with you now. So for works in progress, I also wanted to make a gift for my husband. And I've said for a long time that I wanted to make him some thrummed mittens, which I was inspired to make by Tracy of the Grocery Girls. She's a big fan of thrummed mittens. But I also wanted these to be a surprise for him, and I was also so busy with everything else that I ended up not working on these until the week after Christmas because I was with my family and he came back home to work a little bit and then came back up to join us. So my goal was to get these done before he came back so that I could gift them to him, but that didn't happen. So he's seen them, they're not finished, but these are the thrummed mittens. So they're really fun. The yarn that I used is it's this Wool of the Andes worsted weight in the Midnight Heather colorway, which is 100% Peruvian Highland wool. I used this yarn, and then I grabbed some wool roving from Hobby Lobby. Y'all know I have a complicated relationship with Hobby Lobby, but grabbed some wool roving there in various colors, and I lined out obviously like a gradient that I wanted to use for the thrums. And if you're not familiar with thrum mittens, basically you take wool fluff, so fiber that is not yet made into yarn, and you make these little loopy things and knit them into your knitting to make a very insulated, very soft and warm item, and it looks super funky on the inside. So this is what it looks like on the inside. So each of those gradient stitches on the outside has its own little floof on the inside. And these are gigantic on me, but they're a decent fit for my husband, especially with how puffy they are on the inside. So do you want to see how devastatingly close to finished I am? Here's one mitt. Here is the second mitt. guys, like, literally just the tip of the thumb and then weaving in ends. But I think I had some wind knocked out of my sails by the fact that I didn't get them done before he came back up to see us. So he saw them, and then I was like, it's not a surprise anymore. What's the point of trying to finish it? And then did other things that seemed more fun to me. So they didn't get finished. I just had a phone call come in about inclement weather tomorrow, which fits nicely with what I was talking about. I don't remember exactly where I was, but I wanted to say that these did not get done, but I should get them done for him soon, especially because the weather is getting cold again, which I think has been another barrier, as we've had a lot of days in like the 50s and 60s, which is not really the ideal thrummed mitten weather. We haven't had a lot of real winter yet. But tomorrow it's supposed to snow literally all day. So it'd be nice for him to have something like this. Although, to be honest, I don't imagine he's going to work or will really need to leave the house tomorrow. Although, to be honest, I think it will take me like 10 minutes to finish these, and then I could just be done with it and have my project bag back, which would be really lovely. Guys, you know I'm a mess. Okay, so I have a similarly almost finished work in progress. I'm just tucking all of this back in its bag so I don't lose anything. So I took my test knit for knitting over the holidays. I also took the mitts for Josh. This required some thought, and that I couldn't knit on with him around. So I needed something else that I could knit on that was going to be like straightforward enough that I could be talking to family, playing board games, doing gifts, things like that. So not my test knit. And that wasn't a secret. So I grabbed a skein of Fisherman's Wool by Lion Brand Yarns, which my local Joanne was having a buy two get one free sale, which this is usually like $13, $14 a skein. So a whole skein free is a really good deal. This is the oatmeal colorway, and this is basically just a really big ball of very natural, very sheepy smelling wool. Like I can smell the sheep smell while I'm knitting on the sweater, and it's just like sitting in my lap. I don't even have to lift it up to my face. And the reason I say that this is an annoyingly close to being done object is that I've literally finished all of the knitting. I just have to block it and weave in the ends. And this is the Felix pullover by Savory Knitting, which I think is Amy Christopher's. It smells so sheepy, guys. It's very rustic. I think that it will change a lot once it's washed and blocked. I think the rib at the bottom is going to open up quite a bit, as will the neckline. The pattern has you do a tubular cast on, but in a much smaller needle size, which while I've been knitting on it, the collar has been pretty like small and scrunched up, but it has a lot of stretch in it. And so I think once it gets wet, that's going to really open up, and the weight of the sweater is going to create a nice neckline. The raglan shaping is accomplished with these pretty yarn overs that offer a nice detail, but otherwise it's just sort of a beige, somewhat plain sweater, which I'm hoping will be kind of sweatshirty and easy to throw on over things. I have the one you've probably seen me wear before that's kind of tweedy. That's a boat neck style, which I really like wearing, but it is 100% acrylic, and I'm trying to have more natural fibers to wear. I find that the acrylic is really nice when I want to be warm, but it does a worse job of keeping wind out when I'm outside than a natural fiber sweater. And it does a worse job when I am starting to overheat at keeping me too warm. You would think wool would be warmer than acrylic, but wool is so breathable and has such great natural qualities that it actually helps you to just like regulate in general. So it is warm, it is insulating, but it also doesn't, it's not like you're just wearing plastic, which is just holding all of your heat and sweat and everything in. So I probably will block this once we're done podcasting. I basically knit the second sleeve on this today between 11 and 3 p.m. Like it's worsted weight yarn. I was knitting it on a US size 9 needle. It went really fast, honestly. I just kept getting distracted and working on other things like my test knit and all sorts of other stuff. So I have one more work in progress to show you. I'm a liar. I have 2 more works in progress to show you. So one is the commission I mentioned for my sister-in-law. She has commissioned a queen-sized unicorn blanket. So I've gone through a lot of challenges with figuring out exactly how I want to go about it. I'm going to show you a very rough swatch that needs a lot of work, and I know it does, but this is kind of the idea. So here I was trying out a whole bunch of different techniques, and I messed up the unicorn's nose. It's like way too long. I don't really know what happened there. At the bottom, you can see I tried 2 different yarns for the unicorn. So I liked the colors here a lot better. They were kind of browns and a little bit of light blue. But the texture of the yarn was really different, and I felt like it kind of compromised the quality of the blanket. So what I decided to go with was this sort of pastel rainbow, which felt appropriately unicorny. The bottom of the swatch I also did in stockinette. The top part of the swatch I did garter with a stockinette unicorn. And some of this I was playing with because the original pattern is designed for just stitch texture differences. So the blanket itself is in stockinette and the unicorns are in garter so that they stand off. That didn't show up in this yarn, even a little bit. So I wanted to kind of play with the texture differences. And I think I had decided that I should just do stockinette. I think that that's going to look better and more consistent. I don't mind the look of the garter in some areas, but then you get spots like this between the legs where it's like super raised, and I don't know that I really like the look of that. I have a better yellow for the horn, and I was trying out here doing like a black outline to see if that helped give any more definition. Don't like how it looked, won't be doing that. So probably my plan for the actual blanket itself is this unicorn color on this background without the outline, with a different colored horn and with a regular nose. There's also going to be some stars and hearts on the blanket. And did y'all know a queen size blanket is like a lot of stitches. So I've cast on and I've been knitting on it, and it doesn't look like I've done anything because it is just this like crazy feather boa of, I mean, it's soft and fun and cute, but as I was working on it, I was realizing even though this is on a US size 13 9mm needle with this super bulky blanket yarn, it's going to take me a long time to knit a queen size blanket. So I talked to my sister-in-law. She said that really time is not an issue. So I'm going to keep plugging away at it. But in the meantime, I need to have other things that I can take places with me and that aren't, this is a little taxing on my hands just because of the size. Not like in a bad way, but just this can't be the only thing I knit on until it's done. I need to have some other projects that are like keeping me motivated to keep going and also serving different purposes for me. So this is a good like sitting in the chair at home. And it's going to take some focus once I get to the patterns because it's in tarsia to get that different colored unicorn patch. Yes, so that is a work in progress, but I think it is going to be a long-term work in progress, unfortunately. I also cast on this week a pair of socks in Earth, is that how you say it? Earth Yarns Unique sock. These are basically just vanilla socks, but I'm doing the maker's cuff, which has this like yarn over lace texture. That's really hard to capture on camera. There you go, you can kind of see it. I have a similarly hard time capturing the color of these socks, but I've knit the leg on one, and it definitely has some like pooling, flashing, which looks even more dramatic, I think, on the camera than it does in real life. But overall, they read very like antique brass in person, and I like them, and I like the combination of this cuff with this colorway, with all those yarn overs. So I finished the leg of the first sock. I'm working on the second sock, and these I honestly cast on so that I would have something to take with me when I went and had some medical testing done. But they've been a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying the yarn. I'm enjoying just some plain stockinette. I'm enjoying not twisting a whole sweater around. And I'm looking forward to the finished socks. I also just feel a little bit of like, I've worked really, really hard on a lot of deadlines and commissions and stuff, and I just want to reward myself. Which maybe I should finish the other things I've committed to before I give myself too many rewards. But if I don't give myself some rewards, I'm going to burn out like I did last year and not want to do any of my commissions for a long time. So it's a tricky balance trying to figure out what exactly that'll look like. I have swatched for 2 other potential projects I can work on that are garments for me. The first one is using Letlopi, which is a single ply Icelandic wool. It's quite coarse and crunchy feeling, but will be very light and warm. I basically just read the ball band. I was not reading it, but it says versatile, light, and warm, because those are the qualities of this yarn. So what I'm thinking of knitting with this, I've had this in my stash for a long time because I got it at the sale at my local yarn shop before it closed. And they had 5 balls of it, I think, and it's like 50 grams a ball. So I had thought maybe I would get some more of it to do like a colorwork Icelandic yoke sweater, which I still would like to do someday, but I have a lot of yarns I can do that with, and I don't know that this is the color I would pick for that, if I were being honest. So even though I got it on sale, I don't know that I want a whole sweater in it with a yoke of a different, like I would still have to buy more colors for the yoke, and I might just rather someday buy the yarn I want to make the Icelandic sweater I want rather than trying to find the right pattern to fit the yarn that I found on sale. I also ordered some other buttons when I ordered the ones for this cardigan that are a little bit bigger, and they were making me think of the Ribblesdale vest by Lily Kate France, and I was inspired by Madeline of Fruity Knitting, who recently completed one. And I just haven't really been able to get it out of my head. And I'm not someone who historically has worn a lot of negative ease or has been a vest person, but this sweater was designed with 0 to 2 inches of negative ease, and the Ribblesdale vest also has negative ease. And I think something about the crop helps me with the idea of negative ease because I don't really like things tight around my stomach, but I don't mind if the waistband hits at my natural waist, then I can wear like a flowy shirt or a dress or something underneath. All that to say, I've swatched, and this is for the Ribblesdale vest is brioche. And I usually swatch 1 needle size down from the recommended needle in the pattern. I did that, and it was like way too big on the stitch gauge. Like I was supposed to have 12 stitches per 4 inches, or I was supposed to have 14 and I had 12. I was spot on 36 rows, I think. So I went down another needle size and got the 14 across and close enough on the depth that like I could block that out a little bit, and I think it will be okay. curious what this recommends. Yeah, I think I used smaller than what this recommends too, but brioche is a very open stitch pattern, and I'm a very loose knitter. So I got gauge finally, so I know what my gauge is, and I probably would have cast on, except that I told myself today that I should finish the Felix before I cast on another sort of crunchy wool garment. So this I will probably cast on quite soon. The other swatching that I've been doing is for the Occhiello sweater. I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce it, but it is a sweater that I have wanted to make for a very, very long time. There's a specific combination of colors that was used in one of the samples. It's not the main one on the pattern page on Ravelry, so I'll have to include a picture. But it's got a sort of charcoal gray body with this like sort of indescribably gray, beige, pink, purple, like warm, but so muted color. And then kind of like a golden, like a dark gold with speckles in the color work. Maybe I'll just include a picture because that will be easier. I can't afford to knit a whole sweater in hand-dyed speckled yarn like that. Additionally, the yarns used for that sample don't exist anymore because they've been rotated out by the dyer. I think they were by Woolberry Fiber Co. But Woolberry Fiber Co. doesn't still have those colors anymore. And I'm usually the kind of person that I see a pattern and I want to knit it in the colors for me and the textures for me, and I'm super comfortable with swapping out recommended yarns. But this is one where I saw that combination and I want that sweater or as close to it as I can get. So I've done a lot of swatching and sampling over the years and kept feeling like I was narrowing in on the right thing, and I have a swatch here. It's not right. So I have since re-dyed a color that's drying, so I can't show it to you yet, but this is my swatch, which this swatch is for in the round knitting, which is why there's all these strings in the back. But I really like the pattern. I think my gauge might be too big, so I might need to go down a needle size, which is kind of annoying because I think the pattern calls for a US size 5, and I knit this on a 3, which means I'm going to have to go down to a 2 if it's too big. But it's just now dry, so I haven't measured my gauge yet. I was trying something interesting here because the most recent yarn I ordered was from Frankie Gray Fibers. And it's this one, which looks kind of almost like my skin tone, but it's too pink. I thought it was going to be the right shade. And then when I actually knit it up, I was like, oh, dang it, it's too pink. Which is nothing wrong with the yarn. It's just this color is so hard for me to like keep in my mind. So I decided to try doing some optical mixing, and not every row is in the pink. I knit some rows in this like cream color basically. And I'm doing the same thing with the gray actually, because I had leftover of the Heritage sock in gray, and the gray that I'd ordered for this sweater was darker. And so I actually did every other row with the darker and the lighter grays, just to give it that like subtle variation and depth that you get with a hand knit. I do really like the look of that. I just know I'm going to feel like that is too pink. And this is the orientation of it. So it starts with the gold. I actually really kind of like that. It starts with the gold at the neck, and then is the golden pink, and then goes gray, and is gray for the body, and then there's more of the colors back at the sleeve. So we'll see. I dyed what I hope is the right grayish, pinkish, purplish, beigeish color for the color work section on here, and once that's dry, I probably will cast that on as just like a fun project for me. So I have been kind of all over the place. I've been figuring out a lot of health stuff, which has been tiring and meant I don't feel well a lot of the time while I'm adjusting to medication stuff, but I'm getting a lot closer to answers, which is really exciting. I still have some battling the insurance company to do in terms of the treatments that my doctor has recommended. So I'm like the end of that kind of like this current health push. The end of it is in sight, where I think I will be on some stable medication for a while and hopefully feel better. But there's a little bit more work to do before I get to that point. So I wish I could say that that was behind me, but we're not quite there. I am working really hard this month to get caught up on some work stuff that I've been behind on, which also will mean that I will get paid, which will be lovely. I'm also doing some stuff for my church. I got to record last week. Oh my gosh, yeah, last week I got to record a suicide prevention training, which was really fun with one of our pastors. And I'm getting ready to get together some people to help do more trainings like that in the future. So I feel like my plate is pretty full, and I regret the ways that that has kept me away from podcasting, but I hope now that I am home, I'm through the medical testing that I needed to get through, and the crazy Vlogmas rush, as well as the crazy commission finishing rush. Like I still have some things for other people that I'd like to get done, but I'm also giving myself more permission to take some time for myself too, because I love this craft. I love what I do. I love what I make. And I think the best way to keep loving it is to follow the things that make me excited and bring me joy. So that is what I plan to do. And I hope that whether it be in your crafting or in your life, that you're able to follow some of the things that bring you joy this week too. If you think of it, I'd love if you drop me a comment and let me know what that is that you're going after that brings you joy. And don't forget to go back to the last video on the channel and comment if you want to enter to win the giveaway, which I will draw February 1st. Okay? Thanks, guys. I'll see you soon.